What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I am back with another review of Tyler Perry Sistas. This is season 3, episode 8, I believe, and the episode is titled Little White Lies. Let's go ahead and get started. So, of course, we start this episode off with Fatima hearing all those moaning sounds coming out of Andy's apartment. Because who was there? Gary. And honestly, when you heard all that moaning going on, it definitely sounds like the person is in the apartment. So she ends up calling Andy to say, hey, you might want to come down here, try your clothes on. Put your clothes on from your house. So her and Andy are going back and forth, Fatima and Andy, constantly back and forth of, I think you should come here. Well, no, that's why I sent you. Is there some reason why I need to come home? I think you should come back home. At that point, I'm tired of the back and forth. Tyler, I would have respected it more if Fatima just was like, listen, there's some moaning coming from your bathroom, girl, and I think it's Gary and somebody else. I would have respected that more. Especially considering, I don't know how far Andy lives from her apartment, from work, but Fatima is like, you just need to hurry up and come home, basically to see what Gary is up to. But I'm just thinking, how far does she live? She has to live around the corner from her job. She has to live that close, considering you're telling her to come home. Because at any given point, Gary and whatever is happening in this room could completely stop. And then what do you have to say? Because you just dragged this lady to come home. But I digress. So we actually jump on over to Sabrina. She's actually getting to the place where everyone is going to meet. She ends up calling her bestie Danny, to see when she's going to get there. And they just kind of have a conversation at first about how Sabrina hates men right now because of everything that's going on with Jacoby. And of course, Danny feels bad for the situation that's happening to Sabrina. My only thing was, why are they having this conversation on the phone when they're going to see each other within less than an hour? I can understand if this was something that Sabrina didn't want to tell the group, but we already know that she's going to tell everybody. So I'm not understanding why they're having this conversation right now, but I guess, Tyler, So when she gets off the phone, Sabrina is still there. Some guy walks up and she's giving him her order. But I'm just like, Sabrina, you didn't look at this man and realize that he don't work there? Nothing about his outfit, nothing about his looked like he worked at this place. But whatever. So come to find out, he's actually someone that went to college with Sabrina, Andy, Danny, and Karen. I think his name was El Fuego or something like that. Yeah. So he's just having, small talk with Sabrina, and she's asking him if he's still with the girl who he was with in college, and he says no. But we do learn that he is a stripper, which brings us to the next Tyler Perry show that will be coming out. I don't know if any of you guys have seen the preview for it, but Tyler Perry will be having a show coming out. I'm not sure if it's going to be on BET or BET Plus, but it focuses around these guys who work at a strip club. And I believe Eva Marcel, who was on Housewives of Atlanta and America's Next Top Model, y'all know who she is. She's going to be in the show too. Now, I don't know if I'm going to review that show just because if it's on BET Plus, probably not, because I don't have BET Plus and I don't plan on buying it because I just don't see the purpose. But if it's on BET, I probably will review it. But yeah, that is basically what their conversation was. We're probably not going to see this guy again on the show ever again. This was just an introduction for us to know that there's going to be a new show coming out with Tyler Perry, and it's the strip club show. All right, let's go ahead and move on because Andy finally goes home, and when she's there, she's like, Fatima, why am I here? And Fatima's just like, just go to the door. So she goes up to the door. She can hear all the moaning noises, and she's like, she's pissed off at this point. She's about to, be hella mad because he's in there with another woman. But she opens up the door. No, Gary is just sitting on the tub, or like the edge of the tub, and he's on his phone. Now, y'all, why is Tyler playing with us like this? You can definitely hear the difference when someone is speaking or if someone is on the phone speaking. Like, it just sounds different. Why is Tyler playing with us like this? But whatever. So Andy goes in there. Come to find out, this is Gary in one of his therapy sessions. I don't understand what they're working out. I'm sorry, all that moaning and groaning, what are you working out? Because when Fatima first heard the noises, right, we heard Gary as well as the woman's voice, right? What are you working on? I mean, unless you're in there, masturbating, I'm not understanding what work is being done. Like, I've never had a sex therapist. Maybe I don't understand. Somebody explain to me what was going on in that scene. So Andy, she believes everything that Gary is saying, and she exits the room. So when Fatima sees her, she's like, so what was going on? And she's like, so you called me because you thought that he was in there with another woman? Girl, of course she did. Anybody would have. Why are you even questioning her like that? You should have just been like, girl, he was having some little therapy session with his therapist or something. But, typical Andy. Actually, I don't even think it's typical Andy. Now that I think about it, it might just be the way KJ delivers her lines sometimes. Because within this same scene, she's like, yeah, so you thought that he was cheating on me? But she said it kind of with like a little attitude. And then when Fatima was like, I didn't know what was going on in there, she's like, oh, thanks for having my back, girl. Like, I don't know. It's something about the way those lines were delivered I did not like. Because it's like 1 minute you're kind of giving her an attitude, but in the same breath you're like, oh, you my girl. It's a bit weird. But anyways, so let's just move on because Danny, she gets to the place where everyone's supposed to be meeting up. And Sabrina is taken aback. She's like, whoa, like, you look good, but where are you going? Like, you never get dressed whenever we go out or whenever usually you don't care. And Danny is like, she can look good as well. I don't understand why it's such a big deal. And Sabrina is like, well, usually you wear your work uniform. Y'all, I fell out because I have been saying this since I've been doing reviews on this show. Danny has the least amount of outfit changes of all the ladies on the show. And as much as I don't like this dress or the hair combo, I will say this is probably one of the only times that we've even seen Danny get a little bit dressed up to go anywhere, because they have literally kept her in that white blouse and that black pencil skirt for most of the episodes from this season as well as last season. So Sabrina lets her know that she did see the guy El Fuego, and Danny knows that he's a stripper. She's like, oh yeah, he works at Club Eden or whatever. And Sabrina has no idea. I'm kind of surprised because I feel like Danny would definitely mention it to Sabrina, like, girl, guess who I saw? I saw El Fuego. He worked at this club, but whatever. This is the storyline that Tyler Perry has written. So Sabrina ends up asking Danny, like, what should she do about the situation with Jacoby? And Danny is like, listen, I think that you should go ahead, get some advice from Andy, because she would know what to do, considering she is a lawyer. She should have the great answers. So they're going to talk about it whenever Andy gets there. Or at least they thought that they were going to talk about it whenever Andy gets there. Next thing you know, Karen comes in. So the first thing that Karen says is, oh, did you and the cowboy break up, Danny? And it's because she's wearing a dress. So basically, Danny only gets dressed up if she's breaking up with a dude. That's interesting. So, of course, Sabrina asks Karen, have you talked to Andy since the whole wedding debacle? And she's like, no, I haven't talked to her. I'm just like, it's only been like a day. It ain't even been 24 hours. Why are you down her throat if she's talked to Andy or not? Calm down, Sabrina. So she asked them about their day. They have nothing to say. Now, did they have their own things going on? For sure. But that is not what Karen is referencing. Karen is referencing that letter that she got, because each one of those ladies should have received one. But let's go ahead and move on, because we're going to get to that when Andy gets there. So we go back to Andy's place. I thought that she was just going to get dressed and walk out the door. I don't understand how her and Gary had time to have a full conversation. So she's asking him about how his session went and all this stuff. And he's like, oh, well, you look really good today. Where are you going? He's trying to figure out who she's going out with, where she going. And of course, she's like, I'm going out with the girls today. We're going to be going to wherever place they're going to. She's going to be out till like 11 o'clock. He's like, wow, 11 o'clock, that's super late. Of course, this is Gary being his typical self, checking to see where Andy will be, what Andy will be up to, because he always has to keep his eye on her. So she's like, you can trust me. I'm not going to do anything, Gary. But it's like, girl, you already know how jealous this man is. I don't even understand what's happening right now. Like, Gary is one of the most jealous characters I have ever seen written on TV. And we already know he's going to pop up on Andy. I don't even know why she told him where she was going. I forgot to mention, when they were talking about him and his therapy, I was so confused when Andy was asking him about, is this therapy working? What about the whole sex aspect of it? Because he's like, we're working through it. And she's like, well, I'm here to support you and all this stuff. And I'm like, wait a second. You mean to tell me y'all about to pretend like Andy and Gary have not had sex this whole time? Is that what y'all are basically telling me? Because the way he's acting about her messing around with somebody else, which was Paris? That was so long ago. You mean to tell me he hasn't slept with Andy since then? That has to be a lie. Because the same night that Jasmine was at their apartment, or at Andy's apartment, earlier in that day, if y'all remember, Gary and Andy, they were in the kitchen and they were talking about how, they about to be so happy together and all this stuff. And next thing you know, Andy was leading him to the bedroom. She did not lead him to the bedroom and go play Uno. So I'm pretty sure they slept together that night, and then everything went down with Jasmine. Why are we acting like that is not what happened? Why are we acting like Andy and Gary have not been together at all this whole time? I'm confused by this storyline. Also, I'm confused by Andy even asking him about, what about the sex aspect of, this therapy, when their situation just happened like the night before, to where he didn't want to sleep with her. Make it make sense. She act like this has been weeks upon months that he won't touch her, and it hasn't. Let's just move on. So we then see Andy give Fatima a call. Keep in mind, Fatima has made it to her house, right? Fatima has made it to her house, changed her outfit. Baby girl took a whole shower. Yeah, how much time has went by considering Andy is supposed to be having happy hour with her homegirls? But besides that, Andy calls Fatima so that Fatima can call Robin and tell him that instead of meeting her at the Carlisle, he can come meet her at the steam plant. I think that was the name of the place. And I'm just like, again, Fatima is off work. Why is Fatima calling this guy when I'm pretty sure you have his number? Girl, get it together. Because it's not like Fatima is the one who's in this meeting. You are, Andy. You can definitely set this up yourself. So Fatima is a bit confused because she's like, wait a minute, you're going to meet him as well as the girls at the same place? And Andy's like, yeah, I want to meet up with the girls. And when he gets there, we're going to get a booth in the back. And, she just thinks that she has this all planned out because she told Gary that she was going to be meeting up with the girls at this place. So Fatima, she ends up calling Robin and she sets all this up. Now we get back to the girls, and they were talking about Sabrina's situation, and right then and there, Andy just walks right on in. So she has to, know what's going on with Sabrina, and Sabrina tells her that, well, I'm sorry, not Sabrina, Danny actually told her that Sabrina hooked up with old boy, and now he's claiming me too. Those were Danny's words. And Andy is like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And Sabrina's like, that's not true. And Andy just says, all right, well, I'm going to handle it. Period. Point blank. That was it. I'm kind of upset if that's the way that we kind of deaded that conversation, because I feel like we could have definitely gone a little bit more into depth with that conversation, but that's not what we got, because we had to circle back around to Andy and Karen. So before we even get there, though, I just want to point out that they had like this random small talk that was happening. Like, Annie was telling Danny how she liked her dress, and then out of nowhere, Karen is like, both of y'all are full of it. Like, I don't know what that conversation was. Like, to me, it seemed like they just said action and let the girls talk without a script. I don't know what that little part was. But I just wanted to point out the fact that when Danny offered Sabrina her vape pen, she was like, no, because I don't even know what you put in there. And she's like, and they made you supervisor? And I said, wait a second. You mean to tell me that Danny is actually like a supervisor at the airport? If she's some type of supervisor, right? Why she always act like she broke? I'm confused. Because usually, with the supervisor title, you ain't broke. Like, you ain't struggling as hard as they make it seem like she's struggling. So I'm just confused as to where all of Danny's money goes. Because it's not on clothes, it's not on shoes. I want to know now. But you know what? Let's go ahead and move on and talk about the Andy and Karen situation. So Karen says, Andy, I am sorry for the way that I said what I said at that photo shoot. However, I am not sorry for what I said. Y'all, did y'all look at did y'all look at Andy's face? I wanted to say KJ. Did y'all see her face though? When Karen said that, she's looked like, how dare you not apologize correctly to me? I am Andy. So then you have Danny chiming in like, wow, Karen, that's what you're going to say as an apology and all this stuff. And Karen is like, that's all I got. That's an honest apology. Honestly, within this moment, I'm not mad at Karen for what she had to say. Because it's stupid to me that all the ladies are taking this out on Karen as if they don't feel the same exact way. The only difference is that she vocalized exactly all the reasons why Andy should not have married that man. And y'all sat up there and played in Andy's face like, girl, we support you. Even though we know your man is trash and he's abusive. But we still ride for you. Like, if anything, she need more people like Karen in her corner. Come on now. And then for Sabrina to chime in talking about some, Karen, you were wrong for leaving. Why? How is she wrong for leaving? At every person's wedding, for the most part, you have the preacher or the officiant of the wedding. They say these words. If there's anyone who objects this union between these two people, please go ahead and state your piece right now. Do they not say that at weddings anymore? Is that no longer a thing? Like, all she did was say whatever she felt, And she knew that Andy already had her mind made up that she was going to marry this guy, and she did not support it. Why should she still be there? Would you have rather her sat there in front of everybody, whoever was there, and when the guy asked that question, would you have rather her just stood there and been like, I object, I don't think Andy needs to marry him? Like, would you have rather her done that? I'm confused as to why it's such an issue, because she left. So Andy, she's like, well, we didn't end up getting married. And Karen is like, yeah, I know, thank God. And Andy is like, Karen, as if it was a problem because she said that. And I'm just like, girl, she wasn't supportive of it. What did you want her response to be? So Karen is like, well, I'm waiting on my apology. I think you owe me one. And Andy is like, for what? And as well as the other ladies, they're just kind of looking at Karen with the side eye. And Karen is like, oh, baby girl, you definitely owe me an apology, because I have received a subpoena. Now, for some reason, everybody else has not received theirs yet. I'm kind of surprised by it. But yeah, she whips out her subpoena paper and she hands that right on over to Andy. So as Andy is looking over it, Karen is like, yeah, Gary's wife, she's suing you, and she's naming all of us as accomplices. Yeah, if I was those ladies, I would be pissed off, because at this point, this is taking things to a whole nother level, because you are dragging your friends into something that they had nothing to do. And I get it. It's not Andy doing it herself, but Andy's situation has gotten everybody involved. I mean, honestly, I'm confused as to how Jasmine even knows everybody's name, but I guess. So then you have Karen. She's like, oh, but the best part is at the bottom. Just go to the bottom. And that is where it says that Jasmine is in jail because she shot at Gary and because she put a gun out on Andy. As we all know, Andy never told the ladies any of this. Never told them this. Keep in mind, all of that happened the night before she was supposed to have that supposed wedding with Gary. All that happened the night before, which is absolutely crazy to me. So then you have Sabrina. Oh, Sabrina. So as Andy is explaining what has happened, right? Talking about some Jasmine, she found Gary's key and she shot him or whatever. And the first thing Sabrina says is Gary okay? I'm like, girl, you saw that Gary was okay. The man was in a suit the next day. And then you have Danny. She's like, what the F, Sabrina? Oh my gosh, I promise you. Sometimes when I think about Sabrina, I just be like, girl, is there a brain up there? No? Okay. So after Andy continues with the story of how, she had to defend herself against Jasmine, Danny is like, Andy, what's really blowing my mind is the fact that you are just letting this roll off your tongue as if this is a normal situation. And Andy's response is, well, I mean, I see these cases all the time, so, I mean, it is kind of normal. Andy, do you hear yourself? Someone pulled a gun on you and your man has shot him, and you're acting like as if it's so normal? It's ridiculous. So Sabrina is stuck on the fact that Andy didn't tell them. However, Karen is like, she wasn't going to tell us. She wasn't trying to tell us, because if she were to tell us that this happened, it would prove that we were right this whole time about Gary, his ex, and all the drama that he brings to her. And then next thing you know, Robin shows up. I was so pissed off because these ladies needed to finish that conversation. I am over the whole, oh, well, Andy's about to, use her feminine wiles in front of this guy. I don't care about that. We need to finish this conversation about how trash Gary and all his drama is, and how he keeps bringing more things into Andy's life that is toxic, and how her friends were right. And Andy was loud and wrong, and she does not need to be with Gary. But no, what happens? She walks off with Robin. All right, now let's go ahead and hop back over to Fatima. I completely forgot that she even had an additional storyline to this episode besides her, helping Andy out. So Hayden shows up to her place. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, but Hayden just seems like such a creep. And he just looks like a freaking weirdo. So he gets there, makes himself comfortable, whatever. And next thing you know, who else arrives? Zach. Because she called both of them to have this conversation. So basically, Fatima tells Hayden she does not want him, doesn't ever want to be with him. However, he needs to get that through his head, as well as stop taking things out on Zach because he cannot have Fatima. She wants him to put Zach's name back to the top of the list, do whatever he has to do that. And basically, he has to do it because she knows all of the dirt that's on him while he's at the firm, and she just knows a lot of dirt on Hayden to begin with. So if he doesn't put Zach back on the top of the list, she about to air him out. Then she goes ahead and turns to Zach and is like, for the type of woman that I am, don't you ever try to question me about me trying to harm you or take something from you, because that's not who I am. Because as we know, Zach kind of thought that Fatima may have been behind him being pushed to the bottom of the list, because he felt like if I'm not going to be with her no more, she's probably, going to push me down to the bottom of the list because she works with this program as well. And that is not the case at all. Fatima wants this man to get on his feet, and she would never do anything to jeopardize that. So she ends up letting both of them know that she's crazy. They should not try to test her, and for both of them to get out of her house. However, the only person who left her house was Hayden, because for some reason, Zach is like, yeah, that was for you. She's not telling me to leave. I'm always here. You're never here. Bye, Hayden. So Hayden leaves and Zach is still there. Do we know if this is actually going to be the end of Hayden messing with Zach? Probably not. But we'll see what Tyler has in store for us throughout this season. So now we jump back to Andy and, what's his name? Robin. They are, just giggling with each other, flirting with each other, talking about how, the case is going for them. But at the same time, I'm just like, I'm over this. It really does bother me that every new guy who comes on the show seems to always only be interested in Andy, as if she's the only beautiful woman in the entire cast. He could have been interested in Fatima. Hell, he could have been interested in Sabrina when he saw her sitting over there. Give these other girls a chance to, flirt with somebody who ain't the guy they're supposed to be attached to. But anyways, we jump back over to Fatima and Zach. She like, why are you here? I told you to leave. He like, no, you don't want me to leave. You don't want me to leave. Of course she says, yes, I do. I want you to leave. He repeats himself again. And then next thing you know, they're making out on her couch. That was pretty much the scene. One thing that is so annoying to me is the fact that Zach keeps saying that he wants Fatima back, right? However, the only thing that Zach has been able to give Fatima, especially as of lately, has been sex. It's kind of annoying at this point. I would have loved for us to see Zach step up and be like, you know what, Fatima, I want to take you out. I want to prove that I really want to be with you. You know what I'm saying? Why can't he take Fatima out? I mean, I understand that he lost a lot of his money, but I'm not saying that he has to take her nowhere fancy, but dang, can he take Fatima on a date or something? I'm tired of all they say is being in her apartment. Let's go ahead and move on. So we go back over to the steam plant and we see the ladies there talking about how Andy is the one who invited them out. However, she's over there having a full-blown conversation with somebody else. Some man that none of them know who he is. However, Sabrina, she's like, oh, well, his voice is very sexy. He's very attractive. She thinks this man is cute. So next thing you know, we jump back over to Andy and Robin. They are still talking about what I don't care, but next thing you know, there is a guy who walks up. We already know who it is. It is Gary. We already knew this was going to happen. He was going to pull up on Andy to see what she had going on. And guys, that was the end of the episode. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.